For a good while now, I feel like I've had the perfect keyboard. This is the Mode 80. It's got milk-shaped keycaps, it's got the OG Holy Panda switches. Love the way that it looks, like the way that it types, love the way that it sounds. But last January, I saw this picture on Reddit and it looks so damn cool. Now that keyboard cannot be built anymore in the exact same way. It was a very limited run, but I was able to construct something similar. So this here uses a plank ortho kit from Drop, and the keycaps are called Doys. I found them available on Amazon. I'll link them down below. But the thing you'll notice right away is, number one, these keycaps, well, they're legendless, so there's no like printing on them, but they're also shaped like a strange Lego-like aesthetic, which I think is really cool. But also, if you look at the layout, it's like a perfect grid, right? Straight horizontal rows and vertical columns, and it's supposed to be very ergonomic, like a very comfortable and efficient typing position. But also, this is a very small keyboard. Like this is a 48 key keyboard, so it's like a 40%. The smallest I've used prior to this was something like this. This is a 60% keyboard, so 61 keys. This, being significantly smaller, it requires you to use layer shifts. So in order to be able to access all the keys, you have to go between layers to access all the stuff you would need on a keyboard. But it looked awesome, and I was like, this is gonna be great. So I set up everything and I filmed myself using it for the first time, and it was unbelievable. And by unbelievable, I mean unbelievably bad. I was typing at 20 words per minute, and that was with me trying. Now, normally when I type on a keyboard, like a regular layout, I'm like 90, maybe 100 words per minute. I'm not crazy fast, but fast enough, right? I type on a lot of different laptops, a lot of different desktop keyboards. Give me a keyboard, give me 5 minutes, I can hit 90 words per minute on Monkey Type comfortably. But with this ortho thing, this keyboard with awesome ergonomics, I was at 20. So my first thought was like, I can work on this. This ain't a big deal. I just gotta spend a little time and just get comfortable with it. So over the next little bit, I spent hours each day using this keyboard exclusively. And it was hell, because not only was I typing super slow, everything had errors. Like my typing sucked, video editing was slow, and gaming was terrible. Like I was popping my alt in the spawn room. Everything was just bad. The whole typing experience was not great. And it was entirely because I couldn't get used to that new layout. And I thought, maybe it's the keyboard. Like maybe it's the combination of the switches and the keycaps that I chose that made this super difficult. So I got more ortho keyboards in. I got this one in from Board Source. This thing is super sleek. It's wireless. It's got such a nice layout. It looks awesome already with Legends. It looks even cleaner, legendless. And I just thought that this would somehow change the experience because it's a different typing profile, but also ortholinear, but at the exact same problems. At best, it was like 50, 60 words per minute on these things. And the conclusion that I drew at that point in time was like, these are very beautiful looking keyboards, but they're just not for me. I just cannot get used to them. Now, at the time that I picked up this one from Board Source, my friend also picked up the same kind of keyboard, but in a different color. He got a black one that looked ultra clean with legendless keycaps, and he had a wildly different experience from me. He loved his keyboard. He was able to hit his normal typing speed very quickly, and we butted heads about this stuff. But he said to me, dude, do not make a video about these keyboards until you can hit your regular typing speed. Like, work on it until you can get to like 90 or 100 words per minute. And then, if you still hate the keyboard, sure, take a steaming dump on them, but just don't make it because you just haven't gotten used to it. So I was like, okay, I need to get faster on these things. So the first thing I did was trying to put Legends onto these Doi keycaps. I got some tape, wrote some letters out, put them on, and it didn't work very well. And then I tried using different colored keycaps, so I'd be able to identify where the alphas were supposed to be. That also didn't work very well. I even tried bringing the keycaps from my old keyboard, even though they're a different height, and that obviously didn't work. And then I also tried even changing the way that I type by using my pinkies. So another thing I didn't really cover is that I don't type normally like the proper way to type. I never use my pinkies. I just use the 3 fingers to type and my thumb for the spacebar. And I thought maybe if I learned how to type properly, then I'd be able to hit my proper speeds on this thing. None of it worked. And I think ultimately the main reason I couldn't learn to type properly on these things or type fast on them was because I have 30 plus years of muscle memory just baked into how I type, and to undo all of it was ridiculously hard, especially at a high word per minute. And then last week, on Friday, I had this realization. I'd been typing pretty hard on this keyboard for months at this point, sometimes like 2 hours a day, and my wrists felt surprisingly fresh. Like normally when you type for a couple hours, I don't have any kind of carpal tunnel or anything, but I feel tired. Like my wrists feel like they've been used. And I realized that moment, that was the first time I kind of picked up on it. I'm like, this is what ergonomics is about. This is why these ergonomic keyboards exist, because you could type for hours and your wrists are in this like very neutral position. They're not bent or crooked, and your fingers don't have to move as much if you're typing properly. And that's when I was like, okay, I get it now. I get why these keyboards exist, and there was this rocket fuel in me to be like, I need to learn how to type on this thing. So I committed to it, and at this point, I can comfortably hit 90, sometimes 95 words per minute on this keyboard. And after going through all of this, I would say that I'm a firm believer that this layout, the ortho linear layout, is better than a regular keyboard layout. Now, it's not for everyone. Like, there's two big reasons why. Number one, these ortho keyboards are more expensive because they're not very popular. Not a lot of companies make them. This one here is like one of the cheaper ones, and it's already $100 for a bare bones kit. So you gotta get your own keycaps and switches. And then for a wireless version, the one from Board Source, this thing starts at $130. So it's definitely a step up in price. The other thing to keep in mind, and this I think is the bigger one, it is a massive commitment to like put in the time to unlearn how to type on a regular keyboard. It is no joke. You'd think it would be easy. It is stupidly hard, especially if you type fast on a regular layout. But then you might be wondering, wait a minute, if ortho linear keyboards are better, then why is it that like 99.9% of keyboards out there are those standard regular layouts? And I looked into it. It turns out it's actually a pretty weird reason. The original keyboards came out when typewriters were invented. Like sometime in the late 1800s, typewriters came out, and that was the first kind of keyboard that people had to interact with. And because of the ways those typewriters worked, those little levers that pop up and down, they had to keep the keys staggered in terms of formation so they wouldn't come up and jam against each other, those levers. They had to keep the whole keyboard array staggered like that. So that's the reason. It's just that it's from so long ago. Now, I think that if keyboards were invented today, like imagine typewriters never existed and we just had computers and someone had to create a keyboard for them, there's no way that we would come up with weird like staggered formations nowadays. I think we've just had ortho linear keyboards right off the rip. If you think about like stenographers, court stenographers who type super fast for a living, all of those keyboards are just like columnar style, like they're specialized keyboards with special keys, but they're all arranged in columns, kind of like ortholinears. Also, if you think about like the number pads and stuff, those are arranged in a grid, right? Not staggered numbers, because that's just the way that people type. It's only because of typewriters that we still have that staggered layout. I actually think it's weird that it's lasted as long as it has. It was literally like the late 1800s until now, in 2024. But anyways, that's my ortho keyboard journey. I hope this, at the very least, brought some attention to these types of keyboards for people that are interested in this type of stuff. Like if you type really frequently and you have like wrist injury risk, I would totally consider one of these things. Like that's what they're for. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video.